Hey, friends of the world, this is Waylon, and we're going to talk about veganism. We're not going to lecture you about veganism. We're going to just talk about questions, about doubts, about practical questions, about dumb questions, about genius questions. And I have a guest who is very prompt. Her name is It's Jamie's Corner, her handle on Instagram, and follow her. She's fantastic. Not to build it up too much. There you are. How you doing? I love the
Hi
internet sometimes.
everyone. Am I
You're
frozen?
not frozen.
Oh God.
No, I just talk
Okay.
really sudden, strange. Yeah. No, you're good. I think you're good. Can you hear me?
I can
Yeah,
hear
I
you. Yeah.
think so.
Can everybody hear me?
All right. So
Okay.
I was just introing that I wanted. So we're both vegan, but I wanted to do sort of like give people a chance to just ask all their questions. We're used to it. Every vegan on earth has to talk about it for half of our meals with our friends, even if we don't want to. And I think you and I are happy to. So dumb questions, genius questions, obnoxious questions, charming questions, sweet questions, mean questions. We're here for it. I love how you started your last reel or whatever it was. It said, wait, what do you say? What the hell is up?
What the hell is up, everyone?
Yeah.
Bring it on. We
I
are
feel like
ready
that
for
needs to be
you.
the name of your video series, because what the hell is up with animal agriculture? It's a lot
That's not a bad
of
idea.
health. Yeah. So
Thank you.
sorry, I keep interrupting you. Maybe there is a delay. So what do you do and why do you care about vegan stuff?
Great question. So hi everybody. My name is Jamie. I am a filmmaker, I'm a YouTuber, I'm a podcaster, and I speak up for animal rights because I believe that they have just as much a right to be here as we do. I know that they have sentience, that they feel pain, that they suffer, and that they're really no different than our companion animals at home, and that we should treat all living beings with love, kindness, respect. And that is
Okay,
exactly why I'm
so
vegan.
maybe I'll play the dumb or geniusly intelligent man on the street who, because what you do, and I love you for this, and there's other people who do this, but I feel like you bring in some humor and some attitude to it, which I think is great. Yeah, because it can get really serious. Like I love the others who do it, and I admire all of them, and I should do it. But you're bringing is fun to watch.
Thank you. I do try to, I go out on the street, I speak to people, I ask them these questions to get them thinking about what they're eating, because so often people just blindly follow what they've always been told. And hi, Genesis, I love you too. And so we need to start asking these really important questions. And I find that, adding a little personality and humor into it can't hurt. But at the end of the day, looking at the facts that what happens to the animals, it's wrong.
So
and we need to
it's
make
a
changes.
huge bummer, and I feel like we vegans can get kind of depressed because we actually dare to look at what's happening. So maybe just start with like, what was your journey? You probably weren't born, in the manger being vegan. How did that begin?
Totally. So I grew up in a family that ate meat 3 times a day. All throughout high school, I would go downstairs, I would grab my turkey, bacon, egg, and cheese, and the guy knew me by my order. I was the same as everybody else. And so it wasn't until I was about 14, 15 years old did I see a livestock truck on the highway, and it was filled with pigs. And I remember sitting in the car and looking over at my dog, and then looking over at the pigs in the livestock truck, and just being super uncomfortable with that. I knew that they were headed to the slaughterhouse, and it was a really hot summer day. Their little noses were peering through the hole. And that night, when my parents were eating pork chops, I decided I wasn't going to eat them. And that was the first connection that I ever had with the actual animal and their body parts that
And how
laid
old
on
were
my
you then?
plate. I was about 13 or 14 years old, but I didn't
Right.
go vegan right away. it was a process. In high school slowly started cutting things out, and I went pescatarian, then vegan,
and
then vegetarian.
I think a lot of us who had brief, like I feel like everyone has their I went vegan or vegetarian for a week when I was a kid story. There's not a cultural, like I was just writing down some notes for our conversation, and a big part of why veganism seems so weird is because it is weird. All of culture and society is set up to deliver dairy and meat. There isn't a lot of backing up these children who, so my story is when I was like 5 or 6, I was raised in a Buddhist community. I don't want to foist my story on you, but just so we can compare notes. And I was reading children's books, like all of us, that star animals. And they're really cute. And they're really sweet. And you develop relationships with the frogs and the whoever, all these animals. And then I was eating my pasta at our favorite Italian restaurant, and sausage, whatever. And I found out that something was like pig. And, you know, I'd been reading with my pig friends that day. And I thought that was awful. It's like going to it's sort of like that new movie, The Menu, I think. It's like you go to eat a nice meal, and meals should be fun and about family or friends or sustenance or health. And you find out you're eating your friends. So I was like, I'm going whatever, vegetarian. I was 5 or 6, and it lasted like a week because, you know, you have no backup. So I think by the time you're like an old grandma, there will be a lot more support for these 1 week I'm going vegan children. And a lot of them will stay that way. It'll actually seem sort of doable.
Yes, and that's amazing that at that young of an age you started making that connection. And for me, it wasn't until I was a little older, but as you're saying, it's like I'm in school, my friends are eating meat, and so I didn't want to be the weird odd one out, and I didn't actually have any like facts or resources to back up.
No, I wasn't saying that in a competitive way. I think it also happened to me. I rode horses my whole childhood, being in Colorado, being a little like cowboy, and I saw those. I saw half the chickens, literally half their necks were hanging out, and they were already dead from the heat in those huge trucks. And you're like, that's not good, objectively.
No, it's not. It's not. And it's amazing the excuses that now being a vegan for 5 years, it's amazing the excuses you see that people will go to great lengths to justify doing these horrible things to animals that did nothing to us.
You're out on the street talking with all these non-vegans, and the occasional vegan who I want to hug through the video, like that old guy who's like, I go down to this pizza place, I go down to that place. I loved him. Yeah, I wanted to like hug him. But I have almost a rhetorical question. I'll be surprised if you say yes to it. Have you ever talked with a meat eater, a vegetarian, and been stumped and been like, you know what, that's a great reason for killing innocent animals and torturing them along the way and taking their children away and all that? Never.
I have never gotten a reasonable, logical argument back. In fact, it's mostly just the same 10 excuses that you hear all the time. And so I've just been able to do the research and back up my facts and give them a logical answer back. So no, there's never been one logical argument for
and who's filming?
To eat animals.
I have to know.
Never.
In your videos.
Oh, wow. So my first couple of videos was my boss, Jordan Ehrlich from Cave Light Films. I work for a film company. So originally I was going to these AV cubes for years. Basically AV cubes are where you stand on the street and you hold TV screens and you show what happens to the animals. And I was talking to people over and over again over the years. And as I was going into work, Jordan's also vegan. And I was telling him, I'm like, Jordan, like I'm having these crazy conversations. I'm a magnet for nut jobs. Like, I don't know what it is, but like, these conversations are great and they're going well and we're talking about the animals and whatnot, but something very weird always happens in these conversations outside of like my control. I'm kind of kooky as is, like I'm a little animated. So he was like, I want to come and film this. So it wasn't originally supposed to be like what it is, you know, it was originally supposed to just be very factual, very about the animals, kind of like some of the Earthling Ed, Joey Carbstrong videos that you see, which are amazing, and I admire them. But then I kind of like started adding just who
Yeah.
I am into the videos, and
I have
that
a
is what you see
prediction.
in Jamie's corner.
It may sound aggressive or hopeful, but if you keep doing it with your humor, you will become, who's that Daily Show guy, the really tall guy who goes to the MAGA? No, not Trevor. No,
Trevor
the guy
Noah?
who goes to all the MAGA festivals. You're going to
Oh,
be that,
I know who you're
that
talking
person
about.
for
Yeah,
veganism, because
I've seen it.
and you should be on the Daily Show doing it. Like, it's that funny, and I feel like people get so depressed and intimidated when you bring up the word vegan, whether you're vegan or not vegan. You're like, awkward. It's like talking about that like dysfunctional uncle at Thanksgiving. You're like, do we really have to talk about this? It's like politics, basically. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I love it. And it's those uncomfortable moments that you really see
Jordan
the magic in there.
Klepper.
I
Thank
just,
you, Psycho Michelle. Yeah.
thank you. That's who it is. Okay. Yeah. And it's really, I think we need to be able to use humor in politics. I think that is what is going to help people pay attention more. I mean, at least for me, I have seen so much slaughter footage. I have been to slaughterhouses. I'm like traumatized at this point. I needed to find another outlet that was more sustainable, that I could do and I enjoy doing. I enjoy meeting people and talking to people. And so, yeah, so that thank you. I appreciate you watching the videos.
I just ran into you somehow on Instagram, and then I never liked the really short ones. Like, I love Earthling Ed, and I love, we both know him. He changed his account. No. He's
Joey Carbstrong?
He was just on the Daily Show, actually. It's all connecting up. Yes, thank you.
Ryuji.
So we talked before, and hopefully we'll host him soon. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like humor is important, and I also feel like humor is in all of it. Like, you have to keep some of the fact that this is serious and it's heartbreaking, and it's, even if you don't care about animals, which is a sort of insane thing to say, it's heating up the whole planet.
Absolutely. Yeah. You walk that fine line too, and that's why I was so nervous about putting these videos out. It actually took me, I want to say, 6 to 8 months to even be comfortable releasing it, because I was so unsure of the reaction I would get. I would never do anything to be insensitive to the animal suffering. That is not
and
at
I
all
even feel like it's a fine line. Like, if someone genuine, like if you're interviewing, like out here in Colorado, we have tons of amazing regenerative farmers who love to, like, in my view, spout a lot of BS about why killing animals and farming, harvesting animals is good for the planet. And I feel like at least they're bringing up some like well thought out BS. So I feel like I still argue with them, but they're people who I respect, and I don't know that they're open to caring about animals in that way, but anyway, it's complicated. So let me be that person on the street. Why don't we do that, since we're not going to get lots of crazy questions?
Sure. And we also have a question from Nikki too.
I didn't see it.
I don't know. So, okay, she says she doesn't understand so much judgment towards meat eaters, because we as humans have hunted for years because it was needed.
Easy one. Go for it.
I love that. Yes. Go for it. Okay, so as we were saying before, I was not born and raised vegan. I ate meat 3 times a day. I totally understand where you're coming from or where people are at, because I was in the same mindset too. However, that being said, what happens to animals and what we do to animals in our society is not morally justified. And we have to look at it from the perspective of the victim. So, for example, how would you feel if you were placed in their position and you had a knife dragged across your throat and you were killed for a meal that lasts 15 minutes? I think that we really need to, look at the victim's perspective before we say if something is justified or not. Now, when it comes to hunting, just because we did something for thousands and thousands of years to survive doesn't mean we need to do that same thing today in 2023. Now we can go into grocery stores, we can choose products that don't cause cruelty and suffering to animals. people that hunted and gathered had to do some of those things for survival. And I think when we look at something on a survival scale, it's based on a different moral justification than now if we're in 2023. Now, I always say this in my videos too, is I'm not out talking to people that are in food deserts. I'm not out talking to people that may not have another option right now. But where you and I are today, we do have another option, and we can choose to not support an industry that is violent and cruel towards animals.
Yeah, I think that
Does
was
that make sense?
lovely. And I missed the comment, but whoever asked it, I would also say on some level, like, judgment is a funny thing. I think judgment is actually not the problem. I think prejudgment, prejudice is the problem. So if people are judging you without talking to you, that's prejudging. Judgment is saying this is good and this is bad. It's discernment. And we do that every day when we decide to eat an apple instead of like a pile of poop. Judgment is natural. But if you feel prejudged, people aren't listening to you, please ask questions. And as you know, Jamie just did, we're happy to discuss like what your circumstances are. I think Earthling had kind of nailed this general question to the wall, which is, he said, just because something's traditional doesn't make it right. You could look at fox hunting, you could look at war, you could look at slavery, you could look at any tradition that may be negative, and you could say, you know, we can let go of that. And like you acknowledged, Jamie, if there are people in food deserts or indigenous traditions, you know, the indigenous peoples of the earth are protecting our earth and our land in a lot of ways, rather than the opposite. We're the ones doing the opposite with big animal agriculture and all that, right?
People so often look at other situations and then use that person's situation as an excuse to not change themselves. Like, let's just look at ourselves where we are today and make that change. And I just want to say one thing, just, you know, as, oh, thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, as vegans, we do feel very passionate about the animals because we feel their suffering. We don't want
Jamie,
to see them get hurt. So
Jamie,
when we
let me ask, how many
people
animals are getting killed every day, every hour? Like, there's an urgency to our passion.
Yeah, over 200 million every single day. And that's about 72 billion a year. More. We don't, I mean, this, they weigh the meat at the end, and they don't really know how many animals it is. It's probably a lot more than that. And when you actually look into how many marine animals are also being killed, we're talking about trillions, numbers that you can't even comprehend. So when we talk about vegans judging meat eaters, it's like, well, I think that we should try to be better about what's happening to our planet. We should try to be better about what's happening to the animals and our health. And it's not necessarily that I'm judging you, but I am questioning, like, why won't you look into this and make changes where you can?
I actually feel like we're judging the decision or the choice, not, or the habit, not so much you. Like, you were actually appealing to your good nature and saying, please, for the love of God, you know, for the love of dog, I should reverse it there. But we had another great question from Michael, and I think anyone who asks questions or comments, if they're at all genuine, even if they're not genuine, Jamie can handle it. We want to get to it. So if you feel like we missed yours, feel free to put it in twice. But did you see Michael's question? Feeling a little shame
about the eggs
when he's vegan. What he feels a little shame when he goes, like, say, for Thanksgiving with his family and no one's vegan and he's being a hassle. What do you say about that?
Oh man, I have been through this. I feel you, first of all, from the bottom of my heart. It is a shameful feeling. And you sit around the table, and I at least felt like a hypocrite. I'm preaching love and peace and that we shouldn't be harming animals. And then I'm sitting at a table where a turkey that was tortured is laying. It was, you know, really painful. Wow. And it actually got to a point where I stopped going.
That you know, because you know what you're talking about.
But I don't expect
it's beyond the turkey even being tortured. It's literally bred so that every single day of its life is torture. Every minute, it can't even function.
Yeah, its toes are cut off. I mean, it's just weird, and it's unnecessary. It's beak, yeah. And so, and after 42 days of experiencing hell on earth, then they're killed. So it's, yeah, it is a shameful feeling. And there's a few tips of advice that I have for you. One would be to take the liberation pledge and not sit at tables where the animals are. I am very selective about where I sit at tables. For example, I'm staying at my grandpa's house right now. I see him like once a year, and he is the only person that I will sit down at the table with. That is like one exception. However, it's very uncomfortable. I guess the second thing that you could do is just bring a bunch of amazing vegan food and just lead by example and be super positive. Like if you can do that, that would be amazing. But also you have to understand and be ready for the questions that are going to come your way. People, as soon as you sit down at a table and you announce that you're vegan, they will start asking you about your iron, your B12, your protein, why, you know, but other animals eat other animals. And so you'll feel more comfortable if you know the facts and you have the answers
Also,
ready to go.
Wait, what's that? Sorry. Yeah.
I said those are two of the things that might help, is either not going or to be like super prepared when
and
people
I think, you know, honestly, going to Jamie's YouTube channel, watching some of these discussions, I've written about veganism for 10 years or whatever. I've done videos on it for a million years, but I still honestly I really love what you do and those others, because you're modeling those discussions. And I feel like you and Earthling Ed and others help me know how to reply to some of this stuff.
Yeah. Earthling Ed has helped me tremendously. I mean, I honestly started just looking at his ebook that gives you like all the excuses people have. I studied it. I watched his videos, and now I just have my own way of responding to it.
Yeah,
but
I appreciate
similar
both your
logic.
styles. I'm more your style. I have a lot more attitude and humor and condescension, if I may, once in a while. Some of your looks, that's why I asked who was filming, because once in a while you'll look at the camera and you'll be like, you know, and I'm like, who is it? I love this bond. Or maybe you're just looking at like the viewers. But so questions that you and I and every vegan on earth get. Oh, I wanted to say my perspective of the shame and family thing. Feeling like you're being a hassle. You're like the huge hassle. You're the high maintenance weirdo from hippie land at the Thanksgiving table. Is when I first went vegan many years ago, I went to Thanksgiving, literally like the cliche, went to Thanksgiving with my grandma, my whole family. My grandma, who's never really even heard of veganism, I probably had to explain it to her, Grandma Carol, loved me. I love Grandpa
Nick.
So she heard I was vegan. I'm sure she had to ask what it was. And this was her attitude. And she taught me a lesson about love. She was like so excited to go to the grocery store with me and find all the vegan things in the random grocery store in Cranberry, New Jersey, because she loved me. So I think the whole notion that like I follow my ethics except for when it's inconvenient for those I love is actually not quite connecting with love, because someone who actually loves you will see that you're trying to be kind, and they won't make fun of you or think you're a hassle, and they'll find their way to connect with your thing, as long as your thing is about love and kindness, right? People shouldn't bend over backward if we're like into being a neo-Nazi.
Right. Your grandma sounds amazing. I mean, my grandpa, I feel like is very triggered by my
point of that story is not, all grandparents should be like that or whatever, but that she taught me that because she loved me. So I think a lot of times people think, well, if I love my family, I'll bend my ethics. In fact, it goes the opposite. If there's genuine love and respect, they will be happy to cook up, some gravy without butter in it,
Yeah. And I always say never bend your morals or, over a lunch or a dinner. I mean, I think your morals, your values are who you are. They come first. And that should be front and center at any dinner table you go to.
We will both fail, I'm sure, at keeping them short, but you're more professional than me. I'll throw like 10 questions at you about veganism, and I will ask these with genuine intent. I'm not trying to make fun of any meat eater out there. That is not constructive. So health-wise, how can you be active? I'm 200 pounds, by the way. How can you be an active vegan person and be healthy?
Sure. So when you fill your body with life, with foods that are living, you are fueling yourselves with that. And you in turn will have more energy, more clarity.
Animals that we killed. By living, you don't mean animals that we killed. Yeah.
No, not dead bodies.
Yeah. So,
no animal products.
Protein was just asked. So include that in your answer, please.
Sure. Yeah. So I think from a young age, we're told that you need milk for strong bones because it has calcium in it. And you're told that you need meat for protein. It's in every TV advertisement. It's in every commercial. But honestly, who is funding this science? Who is getting money from saying that? And it is the big ag industries. And when you start to look into the science and you break down, wait, what is calcium? What is protein? Well, protein is building blocks of amino acids that actually come from plants. And when we look at what the animals that people ate before they were killed, it's plants. And some of the strongest mammals in the world are vegan, are herbivores, gorillas, hippopotamus. I mean, it's amazing when you look at that. And so you people say the canine teeth, I see your the canines, and it's, you know, I used to think the same thing at one point. I'm like, oh, well, if we have canines, isn't that meant for meat? And when we look at other herbivorous creatures, so humans are omnivores, we have developed the capability to digest these products. But when we look at other herbivores in the wilds, they actually have very long canines. The hippopotamus has the longest canines out of all the mammals to exist, yet they're herbivorous. And so our canines are really meant for eating hard fruits and picking nuts and seeds. And when you look at just our anatomy as a whole, our hands are not meant for tearing flesh apart. I mean, our teeth are meant for grinding. That's why we can go back and forth with our mouths, not just up and down like carnivores. And our intestines, humans have very long intestines. So what happens is meat actually gets stuck in there. And that's why you see people with all these gastrointestinal issues and digestion. And just like herbivores, our intestines are long. It's meant to digest plants, whereas carnivores have very short digestive tracts. And so the meat can go through it quicker. And so as for the health standpoint, when you look at hospitals, who are they filled with? It's not whole foods, plant-based vegans, people with protein deficiencies or anything like that. It's not that. It's people that have been eating animal products for years and years. Animal products cause cancer, they cause diabetes, heart disease, and the World Health Organization has stated that meat is a class 1 carcinogen. Getting really passionate here, Jesus. And so, you know, when I think about what, you know, teaching others about this, I think about all the lives that are lost throughout this process, all the people that have been, you know, told to consume these products. They think that they're eating something healthy and something that's going to give them strong bones. Meanwhile, it's causing them to get very sick. And our family members, right? People will say, oh, well, my grandfather had heart disease. My father had heart disease. I'm going to get heart disease. Well, actually, what's common in families is the way that you eat and the way that you consume. And you can avoid getting heart disease by the way that you take care of yourself. And for example, cancers are 90% genetic. That means it's only 10% based off of your environment. So therefore, if you are consuming high amounts of animal products, and obviously there's other environmental toxins, that herbicides, pesticides, and, you know, when you look at certain cell towers and whatnot, and radiology, our cell phones, and radiation, you have to be, you know, take that into account as well. But something that we're eating 3 times a day could very much be a huge detriment to our own health. But I want to reinforce, as I wrap up this health segment, I am not vegan for my health. I am vegan for the animals. And you cannot argue the moral and ethical implications of eating animals. You cannot argue that animals, you know, don't feel pain, that, you know, that they don't want to die. Like, they are sentient beings and we should treat them with love and respect. That is why I'm vegan, and that is what keeps me
but
vegan.
It's definitely a nice bonus that you know, there's the whole like vegan for animals. This is like vegan inside discussion stuff that may not be interesting to those on the outside of this discussion looking in yet. But vegan for the animals, which I didn't even really understand what this whole argument was about for a long time, is the fundamental inspiration here that we are torturing. You know, cows are like huge dogs. They have familial attachment. They have best friends. So many of my friends are like, oh, I'm vegetarian usually, kind of, not really. Isn't that good enough? And I say, yeah, it's way better, but it's so far from good enough. You're doing less of the awful thing, but you're still directly causing veal, which, look into the veal industry. It's like straight out of the Matrix. All these like plastic little cages, pens that they're in where they're not heated. You should say all this because this is...
For sure. I mean, let's get into dairy and eggs. So for the longest time, I was vegetarian. I thought I was doing, you know, God's work. I was like, I'm vegetarian and
right.
Nobody speaks to me. I'm better than ever. No, I'm kidding. But I thought that was all I needed to do for the animals, because I was thinking, well, cows don't die for milk. Chickens don't die for eggs. They just produce it. Well, that's false. Cows actually, just like humans, produce milk for their babies. So when human beings steal breast milk, that means there's a baby cow somewhere that's not getting the milk. So the way that the dairy industry works is mother cows, female cows, they are artificially inseminated on something known as a rape rack. This is an industry standard term. 9 months later, they have their baby, and within 24 hours, they are separated from their baby. And what made me go vegan was seeing a mother cow being separated from her baby. Her cries haunted me.
There's videos all over Instagram, if you start looking at vegan stuff, of mother cows running down the street after their baby cow being taken away. It's heartbreaking.
Yes. And then, as Waylon was saying, these baby cows are then put into these huts outside by themselves, chained up, unable to move, and a few weeks later they are killed for
there's
veal.
Even more bad stuff there. They're separated from their other baby buddies, so they can't even socialize or play. These are cute little babies. Like if you went to, you know, a puppy to rescue a puppy, you'd be on the floor playing with them. These are the cutest little animals. They're freezing to death if it's cold. They're on fire if it's hot, if there's a drought, like in Colorado half the time. And they're not even fed milk because we've taken the milk away.
Yeah.
And these
are the male babies, to be clear. Dairy. Yeah. And the dairy industry is the meat industry, because the baby will then be killed after a few short weeks. If you have ever seen a baby cow be slaughtered, I mean, you will never be the same, and you will never be able to shut up about, you know, why dairy is wrong. And I've seen veal trucks. I've seen baby cows on the trucks. And when you go up to these trucks right before they're entering the slaughterhouses, these babies are crying out for their mothers, and they'll actually suck on your fingers because they're so hungry and they want the milk. It is really, really awful. And so the mother cow will then be killed once her milk production slows down. So the dairy industry is the meat industry.
And to be clear on that one, she'll be killed and she's still like middle-aged, right? She's not, you know, they don't live out a happy life. Like people are always, okay, next question. I think you nailed that one. What about happy farms, small farms, happy meat, happy dairy?
Sure. At the end of the day, every single one of these animals will lose their lives. So whether they lived on a farm where they had names and were pet and cuddled, that is the ultimate act of betrayal, to send these animals to a slaughterhouse. They all end up at the same slaughterhouse, whether they're factory farm raised or family farm raised. They end up at the slaughterhouse. And I actually think that an animal that lived a great life, that had grass to roam around, that had people that cared about them, value their lives more than a factory farm animal. And I just think that, you know, then when they get to the slaughterhouse, how confused could they be? How betrayed could they feel, you know? Either way, we have to recognize that even in the egg industry, which we'll get to, all of these animals will lose the one thing that they are born into the world with, and that is their life. And when we don't need to be using these products anymore, meat, dairy, eggs, honey, whatever it is, then we shouldn't. And so when it comes to the egg industry,
if I may, on the happy farm thing,
yeah,
I feel like you were almost being generous. I would also say, just like us, you know, animals need health care constantly. They usually don't get it, even on happy farms. They're branded without an aesthetic. Often they get their teeth removed without an aesthetic, like pigs. They get their beaks or their tails clipped without an aesthetic. Their free range is totally meaningless. We did an article on this 16 years ago when we were a print magazine, and we outlined the piece of paper and we said, this is what free range allots per chicken. And then all the male chicks still, which we didn't quite get to, are immediately ground up alive. Like the cute little chick that is on the Hallmark card at Easter is ground up alive because it has no value.
Yes, that 100%. And so at the end of the day, whether they put free range on it or they put organic or grass fed, it really means nothing for the animals. It's just a label on there to make ourselves feel better about
and this will
what happens in the process.
Some vegans, excuse my French, but I would say I'm not like absolutist or nihilist about it. Like I do think like my journey began when I was a young man and I was like, I want to eat less meat and only like when I know the source. So I would say, yeah, vegetarian is a little bit better than vegan, but you're still killing animals. You're still torturing animals. Grass-fed is better than these factory farms, but there's still tons of issues. So absolutely go vegan, but it's okay. You know, people argue vegans love to kind of friendly fire, like attack each other. I always say like, look, if you're doing vegan Monday, great. That's, you know, 3 animals probably.
Right. We all start somewhere. I took it in a process too, but I will say my one regret is that I didn't do this sooner. It's just like I didn't know. So it's like once you know, knowledge, you do better. And so, yes, knowledge. And so you have us, like you have Waylon and Jamie here telling you exactly what happens. And so I wish I had that, as
I
a
did
resource.
an article.
But again,
I'm sorry, Jamie.
So deeply conditioned. Yeah, we're so deeply conditioned that from a young age, it's hard to break out of this mindset. And also in society, we live in a non-vegan world. So suddenly waking up to this, it's really painful. It's really painful when you realize all of these years, 18 years of my life, I paid for animals to be raised and killed. And I wore leather. I used cosmetics that were tested on animals. And it also affects humans too. And we understand where you're at or where you're coming from. It is very painful, but please use us as a resource for you. If you have questions, we are so more than happy to help in any way we can.
A question that's probably an easier one. We had 2. One was protein, which we didn't directly cover. Maybe you could touch on that. That's a question we get all the time. The short answer is there's plenty of protein in vegan stuff, and most people get way too much protein in America, which is actually a different health concern. But the other one was like, how do you feel about all the like fake meats and the, you know, the Beyond Meat, all that stuff?
Great question. So I personally prefer more of a whole foods, plant-based diet. I think the longer I've been vegan, I just feel my best eating non-processed foods. I eat a lot. Like, for example, I'll have oatmeal in the morning with a little protein powder. I'll do more smoothies. I love fruits, a lot of vegetables. I do like a vegan burrito bowl.
What do you put in
stir fry?
What do you put in your oatmeal?
Where I really like Sun Warrior chocolate protein powder. It's really good. And the reason that I do it is not because I feel that I need more protein. It's really just because I like the taste. And I think that it fills me up. Like it makes me feel full for longer.
Cheers.
But so going back to what I was saying about the fake meats, people don't realize that in animal products, there's a long list of ingredients and chemicals. It takes a lot to keep a dead body from rotting. So when you look at the list of ingredients in Beyond Meat, for example, it's not bad for you. If you're going to have a burger, you know it's not, like having a salad. It's something that you just enjoy the taste of. You have it once in a while. It's not something you eat every single day. There's nothing wrong with indulging in a little Beyond Meat or Impossible Meat, or my favorite is the Mindful Chicken strips from Sweet Earth. I really love them. I I think that when it comes to when you're eating animal products, there's a lot of saturated fat, a lot of cholesterol in those products, a lot of sodium, and there's a lot of hidden ingredients in those. So people like to come at the fake meats, but they're really not that terrible. I mean, if you're eating them every single day, all day long, okay. You need other sources of nutrients for sure. But
yeah, that's a great answer.
I
too also I'm pretty sensitive, and like as I get older, to like wanting to eat really yummy but also really healthy food, both, not just one or the other. And so I don't really eat all the sort of fast food vegan stuff, but it's fun once in a while. I guess I honestly don't really like it that much, but I like that there's like amazing vegan ice cream now and amazing vegan butter. Miyoko's like is amazing. I've interviewed her. So, you know, these were the things that kind of pissed me off when I was going vegan was, well, wait, I need to be able to have ice cream. I need to be able to have good butter. All that stuff exists now. So it's actually, it's a great time to go for it.
Yeah. And I always say, you know, what's so fun about going vegan in the beginning is you can experiment. You're able to try a bunch of different things. Sure, there might be products that you don't love, or there'll be products that you prefer over others, but it's a time to explore and experiment. And, you know, we could list out some of our favorite brands. You kind of find what works for you, and it's different for everybody because, you know, some people might really, really love meatloaf, and then finding like a vegan meatloaf that replaces that is something that they will do. For me, I really enjoy stir fries and different like Asian foods and curries. And so just finding like a butter to replace, you know, what I used to put ghee in there, or, you know, things like that. It's simple replacements along the way. Ryuji actually said a really, I think, profound statement, which is we don't necessarily have to compare the taste of vegan products with non-vegan products. We can just look at them on their own and say if they're good or not. We don't have to say, oh, well, this doesn't taste exactly like a pepperoni. Well, it's good on its own, right? So I do find that with some of the butters and ice creams and whatnot, like you can get the exact same. I can't tell the difference. But look at it from a new lens, a new perspective, and just be open to trying new things.
Someone else had a great question. I actually think this is one of the few great questions. And it's a genuine question, I think. She said, I live really far away from, you know, any vegan restaurants or like vegan products. What do I do?
Great question. So I don't know if you cook a lot, but if you go to any supermarket or grocery store, you'll actually save a ton of money by not buying meat or dairy products or eggs. And if you just try out getting some more rice, beans, legumes, seasonal vegetables, fruits, and you can just veganize your favorite recipes. And what's so great is we have Google right at our fingertips. So if you really love lasagna, look up vegan lasagna and then just get those grocery store products, bring it back to your house, cook it up, and you have something great. Personally, I am not the best cook, believe it or not. Like sometimes I'll try to bake something, you know, but I'm not amazing. So I do keep it pretty simple. Something just like rice, beans, lentils, tofu. I do keep it pretty simple for myself. My boyfriend, on the other hand, makes amazing meals, and in New York City, we can go out to some great if we want. But, you know, trying to save money on a little bit of a budget. That's what I was going to say is if you do go out sometimes, and there are any restaurants that even have vegan options, that's a really easy, comfortable way to try different things out, see what you want to cook at home. I love to dine out. There's, you know, some decent options here in Boulder, but yeah, I mean, but it's more expensive, and cooking at home is far healthier. It's better for the planet, and you don't have to be an amazing cook. Like your boyfriend, you can be a crappy cook like us, and you can figure it out. Hopefully you have someone like your boyfriend in your life who can cover for you. I don't, but I make simple things. I make, you know, a big, what do you call it? A pressure cooker, big thing of quinoa or rice and beans and blah, blah, blah. And then you can mix it with different stuff and hot sauces and whatever all week, and you can freeze stuff and yada, yada. There's no need for it to be expensive, and it can be super healthy. There's a great app. It's called Happy Cow, and you can download it now, and it'll show you all the vegan options in your area. So even restaurants that might not be vegan but have vegan options, it'll show you. Just
to put in a plug for Elephant Journal, we have literally thousands of recipes, all of which have like 400 words of the person telling their life story and their relationship to the recipe before they get to the recipe, which is like the joke where people make fun of recipes. But yeah, they're great. So check out Elephant Journal. We're independent media, unlike Google and whatever. Happy Cow, I love. Like when I travel, I'm a Happy Cow and Google devotee. And okay, so I wrote down a bunch of questions. I feel like, so we were going to do, and please, everyone ask your questions or comments. They can be funny, they can be genuine, they can be mean, they can be practical, whatever you want. And if I miss one, go for it, Jamie.
We're getting a lot of love from Pakistan.
Thank you.
Hi.
So one of the main questions is, which we've kind of covered, is around taste, which I think is related to attachment, how we were brought up, our culture. We love our good cheese. So cheese is one of the huge ones. I feel like half my friends are like, I could care about the animal holocaust and climate change and the entire planet, but I love good cheese. And I say two things usually. I say, one, how often are you eating this good cheese? Come on, care about the whole planet, your health, and animals. But there are, especially in New York and big metropolitan areas, there's some amazing cheeses happening now.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you can get that same taste satisfaction from the vegan cheeses now that exist. We're in 2023, and they're also developing new technologies like lab-grown meat, like lab-grown milk, actually, and they're going to be creating cheeses that are from right. animal cells, but not actually involving animal cruelty. Yeah. Would I eat it? Personally, no, because I just feel so good on a plant-based diet, and you do have to be careful about the carcinogens in the animal products. However, for people that really enjoy that, go for it.
But there's legit vegan cheeses that are actually cultured, like from live cultures, like in the old European French way now. New York Times, which is not a huge supporter of veganism, did a rundown of these amazing cultured vegan cheeses like a year ago.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And I think, are your taste buds worth more than the life of a baby cow? And I think when you really look into the dairy industry, you can't really justify what goes on with that few bites of cheese, that few moments of pleasure that you get. It takes away an entire existence from an animal that feels pain, that feels happiness, just like us,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
so many people, so my lovely old dog was sort of famous here in Boulder, and he died last year, and I had thousands and thousands of people express their love to him. And I kept, in all my writing about it, I said, if you feel any care about this or your own dogs, like, please consider veganism, because it's super weird to be obsessed about dogs and cats. And it's $1 billion industry many times over, dressing them up in pink fleece or whatever. And then and all of us know that our dogs or cats have moods, personalities, character, needs. They're deeply uncomfortable if they can't get out to go to the bathroom or exercise. So let's express that same care that we have for our dogs or our horses or our cats for other animals, maybe.
I always say, if you think it's weird to eat dogs or cats, now you know how I feel when people eat cows, chickens, turkeys, pigs, and fish. That. Now you know. Yeah,
I create a lot of awkward silence in vegan, like, why are you vegan discussions? I said, well, if I invited you over to my house and I stabbed Redford, my dog, in the head with a knife casually, and then I, took his fur off and deboned him and all that, and then put him on the barbecue, not only would I not even get through that act, you would have called the police, I'd be locked up and my reputation ruined for life, I hope. But you'd think I was psychotic, but that's exactly what we're doing. Exactly. Except worse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Psychotic when you break it down, but that is what we're
not doing. Saying that in a judgy way. In a funny way, it's again about the habit and the choice. And we can change our minds. We have that ability. So our kindness and our heart and our love for our animals or whatever, that is goodness. We just need to extend that to all animals and all people. I mean, I did another vegan interview with this great guy, Ethan, this young guy who was connecting it with, many other issues around feminism and LGBTQ. And it's pretty powerful when you just start saying, oh yeah, love. Let's just go with love. Like Jesus talked about love. Let's just do that.
Yeah. That's what veganism is, I think, at our core. We are all born vegan with a vegan heart. When you're little, you look at all the storybooks with all the animals in there. We loved animals. We whenever we would see, animals, we would point or be curious, and we had love in our hearts for them. It wasn't until we started with this social conditioning that we were taught from a young age to love one animal and to eat another is when we kind of went down a different path. However, I think that we all still are vegan in our hearts, and that if you just free yourself from the conditioning and just really think what's going on internally, just start to align your beliefs and your values with your actions is kind of just what I did.
That's why we call it Walk the Talk Show, our video and podcast series. You just walk your talk. You just connect your ethics and your actions. That's it.
You have all these people that, want to fight these social justice movements, and it's amazing and it's inspiring. And then again, they want to talk about it, but then don't actually do anything about it. And what I love about being vegan is 3 times a day, I am walking the walk and fighting for other causes and other social justice movements. I can be at many different protests, throughout the month, and also be vegan. It's not one or the other. It's let's fight oppression together. It's all interconnected.
So here's a good question. And unless there's other questions, maybe we'll wrap up after this. I don't want to keep you from your grandpa. You mentioned, your boyfriend cooking. I assume he's vegan. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah. He wasn't when we started
dating, what?
And that's a whole other topic, but
right.
He wasn't vegan when we started dating, but after about 6 months to a year, he got there. And I have a strategy.
Can you talk about that at all, or is that too? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So I've known my boyfriend since middle school. We went to the same middle school, grew up together, and it wasn't until around COVID did we start dating. And I was really hesitant because he wasn't vegan. And being somebody that goes to slaughterhouses, that fights for the animals 24/7, it's how could I date somebody that eats them? It was like super weird, and it was this like dichotomy in my mind. I was like, do I date him? Do I not? But what I did was, instead of berating him and forcing it down his throat, I led by example, and I brought him to amazing vegan restaurants. I showed him videos. I requested that he watch some of these documentaries. And little by little, he started making progress. And I told him from the beginning, I was like, I don't want you going vegan for me. I don't want you to resent me. I don't want you sneaking bacon and cheese behind my back. Like, that totally defeats the purpose. You know what I mean? I want you to do it because you believe that that is the right thing to do, that is the moral thing to do, that even, if we're not together in the future, you will be vegan and stay vegan.
Please, go ahead.
And and so he actually really appreciated my patience with him. I did set boundaries from the beginning. I said to him, I will not sit down at a table with you when you're eating animal products. I don't want to see it. I don't want to be around it. Those were my boundaries.
Like, what about
what you do outside
if you're around?
Okay. No animal products. I would never cook anything for him. I set those boundaries, and that is what helped for me. I think that was the only way I would be able to deal with that. I couldn't stand there and cook, animal products for him. Definitely not. So he was very respectful of those boundaries and respectful of me as well. And so after about a year, he finally was like, I can do this. I feel good doing this. I now know how to do it. And I understand why I want to.
I'm asking because, and I love you mentioned documentaries. So we interviewed Luis Sohoyas. He used to live here in Boulder. He's the producer of The Cove and Game Changers. And some Game Changers is a great film for people who don't want to be guilt tripped or feel judged, because it actually doesn't even go into the ethics. It just talks about how healthy veganism is for athletes and all that. And I wanted to bring up men as a kind of final question or discussion point, because a lot of men, particularly, I think, in a funny way, feel very insecure about their manhood and therefore have to have their steak and be manly and, you know, all that. And, you know, so in this movie Game Changers, there's actually this sort of infamous scene where a bunch of, I think they were baseball players, I don't remember, but they were tested.
I
You know what I'm talking about.
I love
so
this.
they were tested vegan, not vegan, and then they measured their basically their sexual prowess, their sexual virility, their health. And the difference was night and day in terms of, you know, it gets kind of graphic and not for children, but let's just say if you want to associate manliness with meat and dairy, you're badly mistaken. Ali Lover, I'm seeing a million comments, only like 5% of which are appropriate. But you can check out Game Changers and get back to me. DM me genuinely and I'll talk with you. So Game Changers, there's amazing athletes out there who are performing, again, heart disease, #2 killer in the US, all that stuff is intimately related with meat culture. But so, you know, you're a woman, you're looking at, I mean, you're dating, but you know, do you associate meat or dairy with manliness? Let's talk about that.
Not at all. Not at all. I think if you have power and strength, I think you should use that to treat others with kindness, not to take down innocent animals and, you know, be like, I'm a hunter, I'm so cool. I think that really is not cool at all. And I think that is something that might doesn't make right. You know what I mean? I think that the sexiest men are the ones that treat the most vulnerable sort of like with kindness.
Even Marvel or, you know, any superhero usually is a hero because they're protecting the good. They're standing up for the weak and the vulnerable, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that just based in our culture, it's like, you know, this meat is manly myth that I need to eat a lot of protein to buff up and be at the gym. It's so misconstrued. It's not, that's not right, actually. You know, and I think that
if you associate being buff with manly, you can be, which I don't, but you can be crazy buff as a woman or a man and fit and active as a vegan. And there are weightlifters, again, on Game Changers.
Yeah. Check out my friend Plantabolic on Instagram. Cool. He's huge. He's vegan and he has only gained muscle from going vegan. And Plantabolic is his handle. My friend Bobby Physique is another great handle that you can
I saw some image on your Instagram. I think I was trying to like study up with you and like some friends who are like crazy buff.
Yes, that's them. We would go into the park and we would hold signs that say, you don't need meat to be manly. And people would come up to us and have so many questions and be like, they would look at these guys that are huge and be like, you guys don't eat meat? And it was a great conversation starter.
Going back to gorillas, cool. Right? Like they're crazy buff. They eat, you know, the grass and leaves and whatever, and they have the canines. So none of that matters. I did remember one more question, which is, and I think Ali, to give you some credit if I didn't shoo you away, but someone asked, you know, okay, if you're concerned about climate change, which I actually criticize we vegans a lot, because I feel like it's also good to be vegan for our environment and the planet, because climate change is literally causing the 6th extinction, which is killing billions of animals. So vegans need to do better and get off our high horses, no pun intended, around plastic and vinyl. And I don't like a lot of the vegan like alternatives for clothing. So, you know, buying secondhand, buying less. That's my little soapbox there. But what about plants? So a lot of people who eat meat suddenly get really concerned about the feelings of plants, but not animals when you talk about veganism. So why are we killing plants? Don't plants have feelings? If we're transporting plants in planes, aren't we destroying the planet? Can you tell me about that?
Yes, I have met so many plant activists in my vegan journey. It's unreal. So I have this answer down pat, but for those of you that are concerned about plants, I have 2 points to make. The first point is that plants don't actually have a central nervous system. They don't have pain receptors. Therefore, cutting a head of broccoli and cutting a cow's head off, you're gonna, see the cow screaming. You're gonna, they have animals have pain receptors. Broccoli does not. Second point is, if you really are so concerned about plants, the animals that we breed into existence every single year eat over 60% of the plants that are grown. So if you want to save more plants, then we should definitely stop animal agriculture.
End of story. Yeah. I think I got that from like Earthling Ed or something. Like, I think the stat is 85% in the Amazon, not worldwide.
Yeah.
But if you care about plants, 85% of usually illegal, clear-cut forest that we need, or jungle that we need, because the Amazon and other jungles and forests are the lungs of the earth.
Yeah.
They give us our oxygen, is clear-cut or is farmed for animal agriculture. So end of story. Also, I find it very curious and funny that people suddenly become really concerned about the feelings of plants, which I like. If you're that concerned about plants, be even more concerned about animals.
100%. I love that. Yeah.
Because I love trees. I'm not going to make fun of people. I'm a tree hugger. But, and did we wrap up the toxic masculinity stuff? The kind of like, I got to be tough and kill things for fun?
I think so.
Okay.
I think, use your strength to uplift, those that need help and those in need. I don't think that then, bring them down.
Okay. So let's touch on the macro. To me, the macro, someone said, factory farms is our common enemy. I agree with that. But we also already discussed how small farms can be problematic. Regenerative, as I always say to my regenerative farming buddies, if you really need that poop, animals will poop even if you don't torture and kill them. So you could just become a sanctuary and you'll get all the poop at the same time.
Sure.
But climate crisis. So we are literally killing our planet, our home, and it's so magical and beautiful. And wouldn't it be great if it was around for our children and their children and all that? So I actually really respect being vegan for the environment, being vegan for whatever health. Fundamentally, hopefully it's about the animals. But tell me about being vegan for the environment.
Absolutely. I mean, when you go vegan in general, you are using a lot less water. When you look at, even a gallon of milk takes 1,000 gallons of water just to produce that. A simple hamburger patty takes over 660 gallons of water. That's like leaving your shower running for 2 months. So without even realizing it, you're doing more for the planet than you know. Yeah.
And it is significant. They've done studies.
Significant.
It brings down our gross level of consumption as, privileged folks, where we're driving, we're doing all these things, heating, AC. It brings it down significantly.
Yes. And when you look at how many resources go into raising these 70 to 80 billion animals a year, the food that they eat, the water that they drink, the land that they use, it's astronomical. It's something that our planet cannot sustain anymore. Our children and our children's children are going to be seeing wars over water.
Yeah.
Over water. And we're going to be seeing more and more, people having to migrate because of climate. And so I definitely would say I am vegan for the planet. And there's a great documentary called Cowspiracy. And it goes into more of the facts and the specific details behind that if you want to know how veganism helps the planet. But you cannot call yourself an environmentalist if you are not vegan. Animal agriculture is the most destructive industry when it comes to, when you look at just the transportation industry doesn't even compare to the amount of greenhouse gases that animal agriculture releases. So
love it.
We need to be able to tell our children and our children's children that we tried to do something about this before we just keep running this planet into the ground, because we are facing the next extinction, and animal agriculture is a huge part of why.
And in case that sounds hippie or whatever, biased, 60 Minutes of all, places, good journalism, just did a piece on the sixth extinction. So I really do think, the sixth extinction is where all animals, insects, birds, I think birds have declined by something like 30% in the last 50 years. Insects have declined by I don't remember the percentage, but it's like 50% in the last 50 years. Insects, in case we don't know why they matter, are the building blocks of like all of life. So, you know, I think, like you said, we're going to have mass migrations and fighting over water. It'll be like Mad Max or Walking Dead. That's the future we're heading toward. Or we can head toward this, you know, more Star Trek-y, like let's be in harmony with, you know, our planet future and kumbaya. And that honestly sounds good to me.
Yes.
Like, I think, yeah, go ahead.
I think also, you know, we as humans are going to have a footprint. Being alive, you know, you take up resources, but where we can reduce our footprints, we should try to do that. And veganism, the definition of it is to avoid animal products and any form of animal exploitation to as far as is practically possible.
Right.
So, you know, if you're in the hospital and you need stitches and that stitches, the stitch has some type of lanolin or some type of animal product in it, like you're going to get those stitches. So it's to avoid animal products to as far as is practically possible. Nobody is a perfect human being, but by simply eating plant-based, you know, not buying leather, not checking, you know, your products, your makeup products, your skincare, your shampoos, making sure it's cruelty-free. These are little things that go a long way.
Yeah, I love that. We could, if we ever do another one, we could talk about that. I always say veganism is not about being perfect. People immediately think I am superior or I think I am to them. I say, no, I don't think I'm better than you. I think I'm making some different choices that I do think are better. And you're probably making other different choices that are probably better than ones I'm making. But it's about caring, and that's it. And it's actually fun, and it's joyful, and it's yummy, and it's tasty. So I do want to let you go. But I do want to put in a plug, maybe for our next conversation, if we do one, that to challenge vegans, because I think we get on our high horses. I would say no environmentalist is an environmentalist, like you said, if they're not vegan. But I would say the opposite is true too. That vegans, we are destroying our planet with plastic. Yeah. You know, plastic is filling the bellies of whales and birds and bears here in Colorado. It's really sad. So we vegans can even do better to be a little bit more like zero waste vegans. There's a group on Reddit. Like, we can always do more, and it doesn't have to be about being better. It's about caring, and it's fun. So it's Jamie's Corner. Follow her. Watch your videos. You're so good. Please do more. Please.
Oh, more are coming. Oh. Yeah, I just get to editing them. But yes, they are filmed. I'm going to be out on the streets. If you're ever in New York,
yeah,
I might be interviewing you. So get ready.
I might be a boring one, though. I feel like you're so fun with it. And I want you to do some longer ones with less cuts. I love the cuts. Okay. They're fun. But, like, you know how Earthling Ed will just sit down with someone for, like, half an hour? I think that's you're so good and knowledgeable. You use words like zoonotic and herbaceous or whatever. Come on. All right. Thank you, Jamie. You've been amazing. What's that?
I said I sound like a scientist. I'm so not. And that's the thing is, like, I never saw myself going vegan. I just want to make one last point. I actually never considered myself like an overly empathetic person or really anybody that I was good in school, but not amazing, you know? So it's like, if I can go vegan and change, you can do it. If I can know these facts in my like kooky brain, you can too. Yeah. So.
And I think What the Hell is Up should be the name of your channel. Anyway, you're amazing. Jamie, thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Bye.
All right. Thanks, everyone.